These 6 steps are exactly what you need to know to start making your own beats for your songs from scratch. If you miss any of these steps, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Now, the first step is, yo, Wagwan, hope you're having a great day. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make your own beats from scratch for your own songs. This was a question submitted in one of my email solicitations where I asked people to send in their video suggestions. This was submitted by Levin Peters, and he asked how to make beats for your own songs from scratch. Now, I've made a bunch of videos showing you how to do that. I've even made a complete free course that shows you how to do that, link down below. But in this video, I want to go over the 6 most important steps that you need to understand in order to make your own beats from scratch. And I want to give you an overview of what you need to understand, okay? So stick through to the end of the video and you're going to learn a lot. Your eyes are going to be opened. Now, if you don't know who I am, I'm Jay Carteret from jcarteret.com, teaching you how to be better at music, online business, and online marketing. This is the #1 spot for musicians and creatives that don't want to be starving artists. So if that sounds like you, click on that subscribe button, check out the rest of the content on the channel because you will love it here, guaranteed. Now, I just realized don't have my other ring on, so let me put it on. There we go, complete the set. So my question of the day is, what is the hardest part of making a beat for you? Let me know in the comment section down below, and if enough people say the same thing, I'll make a video on that. So let's get into this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of walk you through a beat that I've already made, but this was a beat that I made yesterday. I'm also going to walk you through the steps that you need to know, okay? Now, the first thing you need to know to make your own beats is the basics of music theory and scales. Now, I've already made a video talking about music theory. Like, watch my video series on music theory. I've made like a little playlist of it. It didn't get enough views, so I didn't continue it and I didn't do more of that. But there's still the first and second video. The first video is on music theory, circular fifths, scales, that sort of stuff, keys. The second video is on chords and that sort of stuff. And these are very important things that you do need to know in order to make your own beat from scratch. But in this video, what I want to touch on is the ease of use that FL Studio gives you in order to basically explore different keys and different scales, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do this in action. So let's go to the pattern, and we're going to do this with FL keys because that's what I use to make all my melodies, and then I transfer it to my VST of choice. But this is a 4-chord progression with some melody in there. So I'm going to play this back real quick, and then we're going to look into how this was created, how you can find the notes in your key and make sure that you're always in key and you're not hitting any notes that are out of key and all that sort of stuff, and to make sure that your melodies always sound good. So let's play this back really quickly. Let me put on my headphones. Almost forgot. Let's go. Now, this is one of the simplest melodies that I've created for a beat. The reason why I went so simple is because I like to keep things simple so that when I'm actually doing my vocals over it, I've got more room for experimentation. But what this is this is just basically the chords, okay? This is a F chord, then we got a D chord, then we got a B chord, then we got a C chord. Now, in this particular key, this chord progression is 1, then we got a 6, then we got a 4, and then we got a 5. So it's 1, 6, 4, 5. That's the chord progression. Now, the way you find that out, watch my video on chords. I don't want to go super deep into that right about now. But what I do want to show you is that if you come up here, let me bring this over here because my face might be blocking this, and you go to helpers, and you go to scale highlighting, you can actually pick the key that you want to work in. So I've picked F minor. So the minor key would be minor natural. That's the basic minor keys. You can try some of these other ones like minor pentatonic, minor melodic, minor harmonic, but I just like the sound of minor natural, so I'll just stick with that. Minor melodic and these other ones, they basically bring one note down or one note up, depending on which one you pick. So let's just go right back to helpers, scale highlighting, and we go to minor natural, okay? So what this does is in FL Studio, all the notes that we can use are highlighted, as you can see, and all the notes that we can't use that aren't in this key, aren't in this scale, are dark. So all you need to do is not hit any of the dark notes. That is as easy as it gets. If you don't hit any of the dark notes, your melody is not gonna sound super crap. Yeah, it can still sound crap if you're making beats in the right scale and you're using the right notes. If you do too much, for example, if I was to go from this A to the F, that actually is, you know, it's quite close. But if we went to the E, it might not sound good. Yeah, if you go too high too quickly and you don't progressively move up to notes that are close to each other, then you can have really bad sounding melodies. But that's an instruction, bit of gems for another day. Okay, so that's that. Use scales and scale highlighting in FL Studio so that you can get your keys and your scales right, and you're using the right notes in the scale and the key of your choice. Okay, music theory basics 101. Beautiful stuff. FL Studio has basically done it for you. You don't actually need to learn anything. You can just follow along and paint in by numbers. Okay. Doesn't that sound great? I bet it does. Now, the second thing you need to know, the second basic you need to know in order to create your own beats for your songs is how to create chords. Now, I've already shown you these chords, and as I said, this is a chord progression of 1, 6, 4, 5. Now, let me quickly duplicate this, and I guess I'll quickly go into how to create chords, but definitely watch my video on how to create chords. It goes super in depth. Or join my free course. Go to jcarterray.com/free trap course. That will teach you how to make your beat from scratch. And in that course, I do have a lesson on chords where I do go deep into showing you how to create chords. So definitely go and check that out. But basically, to create chords, you want to pick the root note. Let me show you how I create chords. Yeah, so I'm just going to go along. First of all, I create a simple melody or melodic line with the bass notes, the root notes of the chords that I'm going to create later on. So let's not do the exact same chord that we did before, but let's try to find something that just flows well. So this is the root note of this key. So we could start with F, or we could get a little bit spicy and start with, you know, 6 and then 6, 1. And that doesn't sound pretty good. Nah, that sounds too much. So I'm just gonna click around and find something. So 6, 4, 5. Oh, that sounds pretty good. So let's listen back to this. Let me mute the other one. And let's listen back. Let's hear that. Yeah, that sounds pretty epic. So what I'll do now is we just skip a note in the scale, skip another note in the scale, skip a note in the scale, skip another note, and just continue on like this in order to build our chords. And there you have it. We got a section of chords, a chord progression, so to speak. So let's play this back. And we can even bring this up like so. Yeah, that'll probably do it. Nah, I prefer it down. Maybe bring this G down actually. No. And at this point, now this chord progression is 6, 4, 5, 3. Okay, so you might want to write that down so you can use that for yourself. But the next thing that I would do here is I would actually turn this into a melody and maybe add some other notes to make it more melodic and whatnot. It depends on what type of beat I'm going for. Let's say this is generally, if we're doing, I'm in my guitar trap beat mixing template. Link down below to grab that. That's gonna have your beats half mixed before you even get to the mixing stage. And I've got my R&B trap beat mixing template, which is if you're not using guitars and you're using like bells and that sort of stuff, that's perfect for that. Links down below. Go and grab that. That's going to help you out a lot. Or go to jcarterray.com/guitar trap FL for the template that I'm currently using. And what this does is it already has all the EQs and all that sort of stuff on it already, so that when we actually create these melodies, everything's already sounding pretty good. So what I can do here is we can change this into a guitar melody. So I'll just have some alternating notes like so. And then we could actually go up here and then come back down and just create a very simple alternating melody like this. And listen back. So, da da. Somehow, da 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 da. And then another hit of this B, da 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 da. And then maybe another da da. Maybe they hit this A, maybe hit the B, and let's listen back to this. Da, da, da. But this doesn't work with this A because it's right next to it in the scale. So maybe we just use this A, which should work because they're both A's. And maybe I want to go up. Yeah. Nah, let's not have the C there. So next thing I do is I press Alt R and randomize these velocities, and I just want to hear what this sounds like in my guitar plugin. So let's bring up Ample Guitar. Let's copy this. Let's paste this into Ample Guitar and listen to what this sounds like. This doesn't have the right settings, so I've got to clone this over. Please do not crash on me, FL Studio gods. Please do not let this crash. Honestly, didn't plan to go this in depth for this particular video because we're still on step 2. But I feel like this is a great thing for you to kind of understand. Now I do have a complete video on how to create guitar melodies and all that sort of stuff, so go and check that out if you need some more in-depth tutorials on how to create melodies and how to create guitar melodies. And of course in that course down below you will learn how to create melodies and all that sort of stuff. So here is the Ample Guitar that we want to use, because we've now changed this to the strum library, which is going to sound how we want it to. And let's head it back. da, da, da. Maybe hit the E again. Okay, that's an okay melody. It doesn't sound how I would want it to sound, to be honest. Let's see with the finger library, do we get a better thing? I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Some of these notes are just hitting a little too hard. So let's bring this E down. Let's bring this B down. So that. Okay melody, to be honest. Okay, it's not the best melody that I've ever made, but I just did this in like a few minutes to give you an example of how you could turn some simple chords into a melody and look like that there's a bunch of notes and all that sort of stuff. So you just click around and find stuff. If you got an idea in your head and it sounds good, you can go ahead with that. But as this doesn't sound, it doesn't make me want to start singing. So what I do is I go back to the drawing board and start again until it starts making me want to start singing over it or rapping over it or what have you. So that's that, yeah? The next step is layers. So let's completely get rid of this and not even talk about that melody anymore, yeah? Let's talk about the layers that go into creating a song. Now, the layers basically consist of the same melodic lines, or the same MIDI that you created for your first instrument. So I used a guitar, I used ample guitar for this. So let me quickly go through my layers of this beat. Didn't even play this beat for you. Let me quickly play this beat for you so you can kind of hear what's going on and understand the context, because that's going to give you a lot more insight into what we're actually doing here. I should have played this at the beginning, but I totally forgot. Okay, so let me play this back for you. This is called Ray Cooking. Yeah, see, if the beat that you're making doesn't make you come up with some sort of melody, some sort of flow, something, then it's probably not the one. Yeah, you probably gotta go back to the drawing board and make sure that it's working. Yeah, so that's how I judge my beats and make sure that everything's rolling. And because this is about making beats for your own songs, this is even more important, because it's about making beats that you can make songs over. And I know a lot of people who are producers, well, I don't know a lot of people who are producers, but I knew people back in the day who were producers and rappers and artists, and they just made beats, but they didn't like making songs over their own beats. And that's like the worst position to be in. You want to be able to make songs over your own beats, okay? And back in the day, I didn't like my own beats. Like, I preferred other people's beats, but now I've got to the point where I can make beats that are perfect for me. And that is the magic you get when you're able to create your own beats and your own tracks and whatnot, because you're able to create your own sound from the ground up. Very, very special stuff. So let's walk through the elements of this track. So first, we've got the chorus guitar. And this is ample guitar, but what I did was I added halftime onto this melody. So let's play this back. I don't know if that's all cutting up for you, but it's cutting up for me, and it's really, really annoying. Let's delete that channel and hope that that makes things a little bit better. Now, I liked this melody, yeah, but first of all, I don't think I ever had it this high. I don't know why this is so high. It was lower than this. But it just didn't, it was too much. It was too much. And then I think I added the halftime on it, and it just worked. And I was like, okay, let's go with this, because this melody, I liked it, but it wasn't giving me that vibe. It wasn't allowing me to create that song line. I wasn't able to come up with, you know, a melody, a flow and whatnot. It was just, I think there was too many notes going on. So I added halftime to it, and, you know, added RC20 and all my mixing stuff. And what we got was this. This is called Great Cooking. And then I added halftime to that, and I got this verse guitar part. Honestly, I feel like there can be some arcade, like some vocal chops in the background. I might even use Exhale. I haven't used that in like probably a year, to be honest, but I feel like I might bring Exhale back out the closet basically, and put it into the track and see if it fits. But part of me also just wants to do the backing vocals myself in the song, but generally when I get to the song, I can't be bothered to do that. Like, it's just, I just never get to it. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. We'll do some ethereal vocals and stuff, but it sounds like this song will need that, and it'll be perfect for that. So layers, yeah. First layer is the guitar. Then we've got the up, which I always like to add as a layer. Let's play this back for you. Let's just play it back in the actual beat. It's the exact same melodic MIDI, so nothing's changed. I just copied it over to an up and raised it up an octave. And then I've added RC20 to that. I don't even think that, I didn't even add any RC20 to my main chorus guitar this time around, because it was editing the sound in a way that wasn't necessary, so I just left it out. But definitely had RC20 on my chord up. It always brings that out a little bit more and makes certain tones pop a little bit. Then we've got the chord pad, and with the pad, what I've done is I've taken the chords and I've just made them straightforward chords. I've got like 7th chords here, so it's got the 7th in there and that sort of stuff. But I've just taken the notes from the melody, got rid of all the notes that aren't part of the chord, got rid of all the passing melody notes and all that sort of stuff, and just made them straight chords. So this is what that sounds like. If you want to know what chord ARP I'm using Astral Visions 1 from Omnisphere. If you want to know what pad I'm using airy and wet flutes from Omnisphere, and I've got rid of the airy part and added RC20 instead. So those are the layers of the beat. Only 3 layers. Maximum you want is like 4 layers. Any more than that, you're going crazy. Okay, you don't need that many. You can use the layers that you got and manipulate them in a way that just creates even more layers. You can go and check out my course on my foolproof formula for making R&B trap beats in FL Studio if you want to learn that, because I go super deep into that. I've also made a video on it on how to turn one melody into 6 or something like that, so go and check that out, and that will show you how to do that. But once you got 3 or 4 melodies, basically stop. Yeah, you don't need to make any more layers, any more melodies than that. You're done. The other melodic element I've got is the synth bass, but I don't really count it as a melody. But all it is the bass notes, so I'll play it in tandem with the rest of the song and you'll hear it. Really, really simple. And when I say bass notes, I just mean it's the bass notes from the chords. Okay, so does that make sense so far? Good stuff. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're learning a lot here. I hope you are. Next, we've got drum programming, which is basically all about, well, first you need to know how to program your drums and where to program your drums. And as I said, link down below, join that course and I'll give you some more insight into that. Right about now, what I want to talk about is sample selection, because this is getting to be a longer video than I expected it to be. So let's speed it up and let's snip it down. Like, sample selection is super important. There are a bunch of drum kits online that you can find that have really great quality sounds, but basically, you know, the whole reason your beat's gonna sound good is because you've got good samples. Now, I use XO for my sample selection. It just makes it an easier process for me to find all my drum samples. Those are a bunch of drum samples, and it can be very hard to find your way through all these drum samples. So what I do is I apply a filter and I'll go through a few drum kits that I feel like using on this particular day. Let's say we add some of these Wheezy drum kits and that sort of stuff, and then we just find a few sounds. So we've got a nice clap there, nice kind of snare there. And what I do is I pair 3 claps or snares together to get my own unique clap and snare for this particular song. Then I get a hi-hat. Then I get a snare for like the passing notes, like this. Then we've got an open hat that I use sometimes. Generally, I'm using it in choruses. So over here, you'll hear the open hat. Then I'll add a perk. Just add a little bit more flavor to the stuff that's going on, like very, very simple stuff. Then 808, I'm just using the same 808. Like, I either use this Rex 808 or I'm using the Spins 808. Those are the only 808s I use. Like, there are so many drum kits with like 500 808s. You don't need all those 808s. Yeah, these 808s are the 808s you use. Rex 808 or Spins, and add your own process into it and make it different every time. If you want to make it different, you can add distortion and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, then the kick, I just use the rack kick every single time because it sounds beautiful and it works. There's no need for me to ever use a different kick because I'm using the 808, and this rack kick just pairs with the 808 beautifully. And those are all the drums. Let me quickly show you my hi-hat pattern, because I think that might help you out a lot. And we're just keeping it super simple. When I do my hi-hats, I go into this snap and I change it to 3rd step over here. But I remember when I first started out, it was hard to get the hi-hats right how I wanted them to. So I feel like this insight is gonna help you dramatically. So what I do is I just have like little flourishes, little rolls like this, you know, just 2 notes in a row, stuff like that. And generally, you know, sometimes we have a roll where we're going down in octave or down in pitch, which sounds pretty good. Has this been panned? No, damn, I must have forgot to pan this one. Yeah, I did do this on my day off. So yeah, generally I'll press Alt R, I'll randomize the velocities, and I'll randomize the panning so it goes from left to right. But this time we did not do it, and I think I'll just leave it as that because it sounds pretty good. So this is what the hi-hats sound like. Well, you've been hearing it all day, but let's play back. Damn, wasn't supposed to have the type playback, but it is what it is. Okay, so we got through the drum programming. That was number 4. Yeah, number 5 is mixing. Really, mixing is about creating space for each element of your song so that everything's not super muddy and you can hear all the elements at once, or when they're supposed to be playing, and you can hear them where they're supposed to be. The best way to do this is to download my template. Yeah, I know, you know, shameless plug, all that sort of stuff, but my template has it set up that it's EQ'd correctly and every different channel has its own space in the mix. Okay, so that's the easiest way to do that, and you can learn and reverse engineer from my templates, and it's going to save you a bunch of time, and everything's going to be half mixed before you even get to the mixing stage. So link down below, grab that. Now the next thing after, you know, grabbing the template is learning about EQing. I think I've got a video on that. I don't know if I've got an in-depth video on how to EQ and all that sort of stuff, but EQing is basically how you create the space for your track. You pick where you want the track or the instrument to sit in the EQ spectrum, and you basically remove other parts of the spectrum that you don't want it to hit. That's the simplest way I can explain that without taking up 10 more minutes, probably 20 minutes of your time, and getting super into the depth into that. Okay, now other than that, other than EQing, which is probably the bulk of mixing, the next thing is your effects. Now the effects that I use, I try to be very sparingly with the effects that I use. I'll use compression now and again, sometimes compression mainly for my vocals and stuff, but when we're making a beat, now and again I'll use compression. You generally don't really need to compress that much. Okay, I'll only use compression if I'm using like a guitar tone and it's going all over the place and I need everything to be in a specific range. Okay, so compression, RC20, I use that pretty much on every beat. That adds a nice rustic spice to your song. Also, I'll add halftime to get my verse melodies always, because it just makes that super easy and gives you variation. And I'll use R bass on my 808 because it makes your 808 stand out, and it just brings that to the forefront of your mix. Let me quickly, okay, just quickly checking that my my sound was coming through on my recording, and just realized that my light has been off for probably a very long time. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, last and not least is mastering. Now with mastering, I use Ozone 9, and the way I use this is I use Master Assistant. Let me just quickly show you the process. I use modern, I go to high, I go to next, and I use streaming, and then I'll use whatever Ozone suggested. I'll go to the maximizer, I'll bring the ceiling down to 3 dB so that the artist or yourself has headroom to record over. But if you're recording on your beats, you're going to want to master it after, so you're going to want to use the stems and you're not going to want to have the beat actually mastered. Okay, but to master it so that you can bring it into your DAW or wherever you're recording your song, so that you got the beat ready so you can hear what it's probably going to sound like in the end product, is a good thing to do, because then you can record your draft and then you can import all the stems and mix it properly. So what I do is I bring it to like -3 dB. I'll deal with the threshold. If they give me a threshold and I'm not hearing too much distortion, I'll leave it where it is. If I'm hearing too much distortion, I'll bring it up and get rid of some of that distortion. Then I'll add vintage tape. I did this wrong this time. I'll usually add vintage tape before the maximizer, and I'll use the preset increased warmth, and I'll add the imager and I'll use the preset modern width, and you know, I'll just let that go, and Bob's your round cool. That's the master. We don't need to do too much with that, because first of all, this master is just for the draft of our song. We're not actually using this as the final version of our song, especially if you're not selling your beats online or anything like that. And basically what we're doing with this is having it so that we can hear what the song might sound like when it's done, and then when you're ready to actually record your song, you want to use stems. Very, very important. Okay, so those are the 6 basic things you need to know to make your own beats for your songs. This has gone longer than I expected, but I hope you've gotten a lot of helpful info out of this. Well, I know you have, because I've gotten deeper than I'm supposed to get, yeah, and I've taught you a bunch of stuff. So please appreciate this, hit that like button, comment down below, because it helps out the video. And if you got any questions or any other tutorials you want me to make, let me know in the comment section down below. But do not forget to sign up to my free trap course that will teach you how to make your beats from scratch and walk you through each step of the process. Super important that you join that before that goes away and you don't have the chance to join it anymore. Link down below. Go to jcarteray.com/free trap course. You're going to enjoy that. You're gonna love it, and it's absolutely free. What is there to lose? Nothing. That's right. So go and join that. Remember, templates link down below as well. That's going to save you a bunch of time and have your beats half mixed before you even get to the mixing stage. Mixing is very important. It's one of the most important things when it comes to having your songs sound good. Like, you can have the best equipment, if you got terrible mixing, your song is going to sound trash. So be sure to get your mixing on point. Grab some templates, grab my templates, link down below, or grab any templates that you can find online that help you out, or learn how to mix. Yeah, you got to do one or the other. Yeah, you're going to spend a bunch of time learning how to mix, or you can buy my templates. That's what you can do. Yeah. Great times. And in the next video, you're going to learn more about music, online business, and online marketing. I'll see you there. Peace out.